Welcome to Outside Views. Today we're exploring a significant yet deeply contentious development in Northern Ireland politics. The Northern Ireland Assembly's vote to uphold the Brexit deal, specifically the Windsor framework. This decision, made after hours of heated debate, has profound implications for Northern Ireland, but also the UK and its relationship with the EU. For those of us who view Brexit as a monumental mistake, the story highlights not only the ongoing complexities, but also the divisions that continue to shape the UK's political and economic landscape. To fully understand the significance of this vote, we must first revisit the historical and political context that has brought us to this point. Northern Ireland's unique position within the Brexit framework has always been a source of tension. When the UK voted to leave the EU in 2016, it created a dilemma: how to manage the border between Northern Ireland, which shares a land boundary with the Republic of Ireland, which is an EU member state. The Good Friday Agreement of 1998, a landmark peace deal that ended decades of sectarian conflict, ensured that there would be no hard border on the island of Ireland. However, Brexit threatened to undermine this arrangement by necessitating customs and regulatory checks between the UK and the EU. To resolve this, the Northern Ireland Protocol was introduced as part of the Brexit withdrawal agreement in 2020. The protocol kept Northern Ireland aligned with the EU single market for goods, while the rest of the UK diverged. And this avoided a hard border on the island of Ireland, but created a new border in the Irish Sea, effectively separating Northern Ireland from Great Britain in terms of trade and regulation. Unionist parties, particularly the Democratic Unionist Party or DUP, have long opposed this arrangement, arguing that it undermines Northern Ireland's place within the UK. Fast forward to 2023, and the Windsor framework was introduced to address some of these concerns. This agreement aimed to streamline trade between Northern Ireland and Great Britain while maintaining the region's unique access to both UK and EU markets. Proponents hailed it as a pragmatic solution to a complex problem, but critics, particularly within the unionist community, remained unconvinced. On December 10th in 2024, the Northern Ireland Assembly held its first vote on the Windsor framework. After more than 6 hours of heated debate, the Assembly voted 48 to 36 in favour of upholding the agreement. The vote ensures that the key provisions of the Windsor framework will remain in place until at least 2028, when the Assembly will vote again. But this was no ordinary vote. Unionist politicians led by the DUP argued that the decision violated the Good Friday Agreement's provisions for cross-community support. Under the agreement, significant decisions affecting Northern Ireland are supposed to have the backing of both unionist and nationalist communities. The Windsor framework, however, was upheld by a simple majority, with nationalists and the Liberal Alliance Party outvoting unionists. Emma Little-Pengley of the DUP called the vote a manipulated decision that ignored the principles of the Good Friday Agreement. Her sentiments were echoed by Jonathan Buckley, another DUP member, who described the process as an illusion of democracy. Unionists argued that bypassing cross-community support undermined the spirit of power sharing that has defined Northern Ireland politics since 1998. Nationalists, led by Sinn Féin, strongly supported the framework. They argued that it provided Northern Ireland with the best of both worlds: seamless trade with the EU and unfettered access to the UK market. Sinn Féin's Philip McGuinn highlighted that the framework offered protections against the worst excesses of Brexit, which the majority of Northern Irish voters opposed in the 2016 referendum. The Liberal, Social Democrat and Labour Party, the SDLP, also backed the framework, with its leader Matthew O'Toole accusing unionists of ignoring the root cause of the problem, Brexit itself. He pointed out that the Windsor framework was a direct consequence of the UK's decision to leave the EU, a decision that Northern Ireland did not support. The Alliance Party, which identifies as neither unionist nor nationalist, also voted in favour of the agreement. They argued that the framework offered much-needed stability and economic certainty for Northern Ireland, which has faced significant challenges since Brexit. Despite these arguments, unionists remain deeply sceptical. They contended that the framework still created trade barriers between Northern Ireland and Great Britain, reinforcing their sense of economic and political isolation. Buckley and others highlighted specific examples of how the framework affected trade, from restrictions on agricultural products to new requirements for importing goods from Great Britain. The debate also touched on broader geopolitical issues. Steve Aiken of the Ulster Unionist Party criticized the EU for its perceived hypocrisy, pointing to its recent trade deal with the Mercosur bloc in South America. Aiken argued that the EU's willingness to accept potential risks from Mercosur imports undermined its justification for strict rules on UK goods entering the single market. While the vote secured the framework's immediate future, it did little to bridge the deep divisions within Northern Ireland. The absence of cross-community support has fueled calls for a legal review of the framework's implementation. Critics argue that a more comprehensive agreement is needed, one that ensures longer-term stability and addresses unionist concerns. The Windsor framework's approval means that Northern Ireland will continue to benefit from dual market access, at least for now. But this status is far from secure. If the Assembly votes against the framework in 2028, the UK and EU will be forced back to the negotiation table, reopening debates that have already consumed years of political energy. And this story is a stark reminder of how Brexit continues to shape the UK's political landscape in profound and often contentious ways. For Northern Ireland, the challenges of balancing its unique position within the UK and its proximity to the EU remain as complex as ever. For those of us who view Brexit as a mistake, this saga highlights the enduring costs of that decision, not just in economic terms, but in the strain it places on political institutions and community relationships. So thank you for joining me today on Outside Views again, and if you found this discussion insightful, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the Windsor framework strikes the right balance, or is it a flawed compromise that exacerbates this division? And if you haven't already, check out my earlier videos on Brexit's impact. It's just a few thousand. They provide valuable context for today's discussion. I'll see you next time with more stories that matter. Until then, take care, and the next video is right here in the end screen.